Council resolution tracker. Oh, sorry, no, it's item number 16. Sorry, what have I done?
Psychoactive products, 16.
Oh, item. Okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I haven't got 16 in my. Normally, I just filter them through into my thing in order, but I hadn't. So I do apologise. Psychoactive products retail locations policy consultation documents. The recommendation there. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Andrew Turner, seconded by Phil Clearwater. Any questions? Yanni and then Paul.
I wanted to check with staff. I see the map at the back and I'm a little bit concerned about the mixed use zone because it's adjacent to residential. So I just wanted to check or signal the idea of an amendment that basically we remove the mixed use central city zones, and just wanted to check the implications of doing that with staff.
I think the potential implication would be the restriction, the risk of restricting the retail outlets to just the core, central city core area. And the issue there is associated with, the ongoing rebuild means that there's not a lot of retail opportunity already currently within those areas. So we were looking for a reasonable option that would allow the retailers enough space to locate.
If perhaps I moved an amendment then that deleted the mixed-use central city core, except for the area bounded between Chewham to Morehouse and Manchester to Montreal, would that seem to be quite a good compromise?
Can we do that? I mean, we already had a debate around the detail of the content of the policy. I don't know that we can do this just prior to notification of. I'm asking a procedural question of staff. Is it possible to amend the consultation document if it doesn't reflect the decision that was made by the council?
You're quite right. The substantive debate was had at a previous council meeting, and you made a decision on what you wanted. This was really bringing back the right consultation documents to enable that decision. So yeah, you've pretty much already had this debate, and you've made a decision.
Can we have some legal advice on that? Because I like Yanni's suggestion. I'm well aware that there are builders who want to build in that area who are now feeling that they can't because it's going to have a concentration of legal high shops. We're going to ask Peter Mitchell to come up to the table. So can we have a legal view on, I know it might be a pain in the neck, but I'm not really worried.
There may be another way around this here, that we just restrict it within a certain distance from any house.
No, the question that we're asking is whether or not we can amend the consultation document at this point in the process. That's the question.
When Councillor Hanson first raised it just now, I looked at the recommendation, because it is simply saying to the council, please adopt this for public consultation. And so I thought, well, why not? Because at the end of the day, this is the final step before it goes out, and you should be able to do that. However, given the information that's just been put forward, Mr. Bywater, about a previous council resolution, then we were in that situation where effectively it seems we're looking to amend a previous council resolution without having gone through the procedural requirements, which you will be quite familiar with. And I think that is the answer. So from my point of view, at this time on the information I have, is no, you cannot amend it in the way Councillor Hanson wishes. The option you have is either go out with what's here today, or you defer this or another council meeting, or potentially you could say, well, let's defer it to the Earthquake Committee meeting next week, give the Earthquake Committee the authority to approve whatever recommendation comes before it next week, and then we wrap around that words that allow Councillor Hanson's suggestion to be voted on by the council.
I'm just, there is a degree of reluctance because I know that it was quite a close decision around the central city, and Councillor Goff isn't here at the moment, and I know that he was a very strong advocate for not allowing for not allowing a broader scope. And I know that there are going to be a number of submissions on the document. The question is do we get the document out there in this current form and just allow the process to amend it, or do we bring it back and potentially open up the scope for another debate around it? I know that a number of people have certainly mentioned to me since we made the original decision that the lanes, which are a requirement under the city plan, are creating significant risk around safety in the CBD by locating all of these in the CBD. They earn a lot of money, they can afford to pay to be in those lanes. So I'd just say that if we start to open this up again, there may be people who will change the position that they had on the previous resolution. So the question is, do we put this out now and let the submission process direct, an opportunity for council later on to revisit some of the aspects of it, or do we allow the thing to be opened up again? And if we allow it to be opened up again, is it the Earthquake Recovery Committee, which this is not related to, or the next council meeting? So those are the issues. Paul?
Well, I was very opposed to it just being located in the central city. I know the cumulative effect of it being located in the central city is a problem. We're also trying to rebuild a city with 30,000 residents, in a city with 30,000 residents, and also try and rebuild a city centre. And concentrating these, we heard that from one particular owner of one of these stores, 300 customers a day. You times that by 8, you've got 4,200 of these addicted people coming into the central city. It's going to be a massive problem. I want to see it kept well away, and I'd like to amend another amendment to actually keep it away from households. So anywhere with a residential house, I think that should become a sensitive site as well.
So this is what we were up against. We're either going to revisit the content of the document, or we're going to release it for public discussion, and then we're going to have a decision on the individual items. I kind of don't want to have a major debate about it, but Glenn, David, Phil.
Thank you. If I could ask Peter, in terms of process, how different is this from, say, the annual plan, which actually we amended a few weeks ago over the grants, and so what people received, and it looks to some people at the moment as if there's been those grants are not there, but they're coming out by another funding avenue. So going out for consultation.
This is a legal process for a plan under legislation. Yeah. So it's a plan under legislation. It's under the Psychoactive substances.
But we amended the annual plan draft when we.
Yes, but the annual plan is our plan. This is a plan that we do under a piece of legislation.
Glenn's making though is that it's very normal for us as a council to make a decision and then have staff make the necessary amendments to give effect to that decision. So there's actually no reason.
Except that we've already made a decision. So the decision that we make today is, are we going to reopen the document that we are going to send out for consultation, or are we going to send the existing document out for consultation? David and then Phil.
Thank you. Look, I was one of the councillors that was against centralising into the central city. But look, I think we've made a decision last time, and this document really is just bringing it back to restructure the document really in line with what we decided last week. I'm actually quite in favour now of putting the document out for public consultation. I'm sure there will be a large number of deputations, submissions I should say, to this policy, and look, we've got another chance to come back at it later on, so we could waste a lot of time just making amendments here, there and delaying the process. I'm very much in favour of putting this out for consultation, letting the public have their say, and we can come back and amend accordingly.
That's the original wording, which you agreed to.
Yeah, so the actual wording of the resolution of council was central city mixed-use zones and central city core and district centres, and that the proposed amended policy be adopted for consultation. Phil?
Look, I was actually hoping today that we might be able to even tighten up on the number of outlets, but I think it's important just to get this out. We don't have time to relitigate the whole thing, and so I'm okay with the decision we made when we previously decided on these recommendations.
So that they are the actual So either we So I'm going to put the resolution that we go out to consultation. I'm not going to accept an amendment to I'm not going to accept an amendment to the statement that goes out for consultation, but I will accept an amendment that says that we will defer the decision and revisit elements of it and I think it has to be the next council meeting. I don't think it can be the earthquake recovery meeting because and then we can prepare a report that has properly that has it properly in the format that it needs to be in to change the decision that's been made. Is that acceptable?
Well, my understanding of that then is that the council does not resolve today to commence the special consultative procedure, effectively defers this report to the next council meeting. Then the paperwork is done to effectively reopen the debate for at the next council meeting, and then from there a decision is made to commence the special consultative procedure.
Yeah, but not everyone agrees with that position, so I'll take it as an amendment that we defer the paper to the next council meeting.
It lie on the table to the next council meeting, and that staff produce a report which enables what I'll call the debate to be opened up again, and then at that meeting a decision is made.
Yeah. Yes. All right. So who would like to move that? Who wants to move that amendment? Paul, seconded by?
I was interested in hearing from some others who hadn't spoken, but I'm torn behind the need to get something out there so people can make submissions versus delaying this for another month, which effectively this will do, which seems to me kind of crazy, really. We need to get something out there so people can make submissions.
Well, that's my view, but I've got the impression we've already had advice that we can't legally change the document now.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask on a different issue. I actually agree with Yanni that it shouldn't include the residential areas, but I'm happy that we have that debate after the submissions, not at this stage, so that we actually get something out there. But in relation to a different issue, which wasn't previously debated, in the sensitive sites, we stipulate that what a sensitive site is, and indeed we stipulate the means by which those have been notified. But for example, if we know of, but not through those means, a preschool or a school or a health facility that is going to go in, can we just add the words "or other means" to that part on page 3D, which talks about future sensitive sites?
I think it creates a whole load of problems for us, because what will happen is when an application for one of these shops comes in, we'll then get asked by the Ministry of Health, are you aware of any sensitive sites by other means? Again, trying to establish that across the whole council, all the council staff, whether somebody in the council knows of something by another means is going to be very, very hard to achieve with any certainty.
But this is exactly the same issue. We can't amend the wording of the document that's going.
No. So at the last council meeting, a request was made as whether we could add something to the policy to deal with sensitive sites that we were aware of, but weren't aware of, were coming, but were not actually in place.
And so this is not something that we previously debated because it wasn't in the last one. But what I'm aware of is that, for example, there are schools yet to be located in the central city. There are preschools yet to be located in the central city, but they probably won't have a resource consent filed by the end of the year. So they're likely to be affected then by a legal high shop very nearby. Not okay. So what I just want us to be able to do is have a less formal process of notifying the council about these future additions.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is I think that it requires some formality. I don't think an informal, someone's told somebody in the council that there's going to be a school in such and such a site is just not going to work here.
Ministry of Education announcement, for example, of 2 new schools coming back into town seems to me a reasonably definite commitment to those 2 schools coming into town.
Again, with site-specific?
No, that's the difficulty, but it's going to be site-specific.
So that means we're going to restrict it to the centre of the town, but they can't build anywhere because there might be a school somewhere.
Well, no, they will be site-specific, but they won't have a resource consent by the time legal highs are established.
Sorry, it may not be quite clear enough, but what was intended by in the next 12 months would mean that that a resource consent or building consent or a recovery plan. Yes, and that yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
All right. So, does anyone want to defer this to the next meeting? Because if not, then the amendment fails for want of a seconder. In which case, I'll move to the resolution itself. Does anyone want to debate that? Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I look at this as a matter of process. We've already had the debate. We already made the decision. There was quite a bit of discussion in the very full and frank debate that we had about restriction to the central city core, and we asked some questions at that time and were advised that wasn't advisable. We then looked at the result, we looked at the debate which resulted in the map that we've got in this document here today. I mean, I'm actually in favour of what Councillor Johansson is suggesting, but the right time for that to have been suggested would have been as part of that debate. I'm in many ways in favour of what Councillor Lonsdale's suggesting, but the right time to have suggested that would have been in that debate. My understanding of what we're doing today is simply completing the process which was started and which was the result of that debate, which is that Council has taken a position on what it wants to go out to consult on. It's taken a position on a draft policy. All we're doing today is approving the result of a decision that we've already made. So whilst there are some views today which have been expressed that I actually agree with, the need to just get on with what we said we were going to do, in my view, is paramount, and that's the reason I didn't support the amendment and the reason that I'm happy to support this.
Are people generally happy that we leave it to the Council Secretary to establish the hearings panel, which she has delegated authority to do that in consultation with councillors? All right. Yeah. All right.
Sorry, just on that point, if councillors do choose to go on that hearings panel, can they please ensure they're there for the whole time that hearings panel runs?
Yeah.
Because on this particular matter, that'll be absolutely critical. They must be there. They must commit to the time.
Yep. All right. So can we tidy up that part of the motion to do that? I'll put the resolution. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. Councillor Lonsdale record opposition to that. That's carried. Thank you.